No exaggeration. This is messed up. This was about 3 years ago. I was driving cross-state for work, last-minute trip. That night I'd been on the road longer than I should have, and it was getting late, like close to 11, and I just wanted somewhere to crash for the night. I remember I'd been chewing on this stale gas station sandwich and my jaw was aching. My GPS showed a couple of motels near this tiny exit off the interstate, but I picked the first one because the other two looked closed or something like that. It was one of those older motels that kind of curve around a parking lot, like an L shape, with the office right in the corner. A single flickering sign said Valley Inn, which didn't really match the vibe. It was surrounded by nothing but empty fields and a gas station half a mile away. The guy at the front desk barely looked up from his phone when I came in. Old dude, heavy glasses. I remember he said, "We got one left on the corner, room 8. I paid cash, mostly because I didn't feel like pulling out my card. He slid me this metal key with a faded tag. I didn't even know places still used metal keys. When I parked, I noticed the room doors all opened outward instead of inward. I thought that was kind of weird. Like, I don't know, something about it just felt unsafe, like if someone really wanted to get in, there's nothing stopping them. My room was at the far end, facing this half-dead patch of grass and a single street light. I could hear trucks passing on the highway way out in the dark. Inside, the room was fine, I guess. The bedspread had that old bleach and smoke smell, TV bolted to the dresser, bathroom light flickered when I turned it on. There was this old mirror above the desk, one of those with a faint brown tint, and it had a tiny crack in the top corner. I didn't unpack, just set my bag on the chair and sat on the edge of the bed scrolling through my phone. No signal. Of course. I tried the motel Wi-Fi and it worked for like 5 seconds before disconnecting. So I gave up, turned on the TV, some local news station with a guy talking about farm subsidies. Then like 15-20 minutes later, I hear this click, like a soft metal sound. I look over and my door is half open, just an inch, maybe 2. I thought the lock just hadn't caught when I came in, but then the door pushed the rest of the way open, and this man steps in. He froze when he saw me sitting there. I froze too. He looked about mid-40s, tall but kind of slouched. His eyes darted around like he wasn't expecting me to be there. Then he just said, "Oh, sorry, wrong room." He stepped back out, shut the door, and walked off down the row. What? Like that's it? He didn't even look confused enough. He looked like, I don't know, like he was expecting someone, just not me. I got up and locked the door again, made sure the chain was on. The handle felt a little loose when I turned it. It was one of those cheap ones where you could probably kick it in with one good hit. Anyway, I told myself it was just some drunk guy, or maybe the numbers on the rooms are confusing or something. But curiosity got the better of me, and when I peeked through the blinds, I saw him again. He walked a few doors down, not too far, maybe 2 or 3, and then he went into another room. I was thinking, weird, so he did have a room here. But then why'd he try mine first? After that, I tried to let it go. I laid down and scrolled through some offline music, just trying to wind down. I think it was a little after midnight when I finally shut off the TV and tried to sleep. I heard a car pull up. I could see the headlights sweep across the thin curtains. 2 doors opened and shut. Quiet footsteps on gravel. I don't know why I even looked, but I did. Just parted the curtain a little bit. The same room that man had gone into earlier. Its door opened, and 2 more men went inside. They were wearing these outfits I can't even properly describe, like dark, loose robes, but not like Halloween costumes. The material looked thicker, like work gear, but with weird collars or something. It didn't make sense. I thought about calling the front desk, but I didn't even have signal, and the office light had gone off a while ago. I told myself, okay, just mind your own business. Maybe they're just buddies, whatever. I put a pillow over my head and tried to ignore it. But I started hearing sounds, muffled voices. It was coming through the thin motel wall. I could feel it more than I could hear it, like this faint vibration. Every once in a while there'd be a sound, like furniture moving or something being dropped. That's when I started to feel properly uneasy. I even turned the TV on again, just to drown it out. I think I dozed off at some point because the next thing I remember was a knock. I looked at the clock. 12:47. A man's voice said, "Real urgent. You need to leave." right now. It wasn't angry, just serious. Like he meant it. I got up, still half asleep, and went to the door but didn't open it. I asked, "What? Who is it?" He said, "Just please, get your stuff and go. Drive fast as you can. Don't ask, just go." I remember the voice had this tremble, like he was out of breath or scared. That made me hesitate even more. I looked through the peephole, but it was fogged from the outside, couldn't see anything. I said again, "Who are you?" But he was already walking away. I caught a glimpse of him through the side of the curtain, just his back, heading fast toward the lot. He looked familiar, like I'd seen him before. And then it hit me. He was the driver from that car earlier, the one who dropped those two guys off. I don't know what clicked in me, but something about the way he said it made me panic. I grabbed my bag, didn't even check the bathroom or anything, just shoved my shoes on and bolted. My car was like 20 feet away, but it felt like the longest walk of my life. As I got in, I looked toward that room again. The door was open now, and I swear I saw a faint red glow inside, like candlelight. It made my stomach turn. As I was pulling onto the road, I saw them in my rearview mirror, a few dark shapes stepping out of that same room, walking fast, almost running, toward the direction I'd been parked. I didn't look back again after that. I must have driven for a solid half hour before I hit the main highway again. I can call the cops, but, it sounded insane. And for all I knew, it was just some local thing, like a hunting club or some off-the-clock weirdos doing their own thing. I never saw anything about that motel online. I looked, believe me. The only listing I found had different signage, and the address didn't match. It's like it was never there, or maybe it got bought out. I was driving through Nevada alone that night, between Tonopah and Beatty. It's just miles and miles of nothing. No gas stations, just long black road. I'd been on the road for hours. My eyes felt heavy and dry, and I hadn't seen another car in a while. The last sign I remember said something about a rest stop being closed, so I didn't really have a place to pull over safely. I just wanted to stretch and splash some water on my face before I started seeing things on the road. Around 2 a.m, I slowed down near this wide gravel turnout. It wasn't even an actual stop, flat open shoulders beside the desert highway. The kind of place truckers sometimes pull into to sleep. I turned off the radio, which had been playing static for the last half hour anyway, and parked under what I think was one of those sodium lights, orange and faint. I left the engine running at first, just to keep the air going, then turned it off when I realized how loud it sounded. The sudden silence hit hard. It's strange. When you cut the engine out there, you don't realize how alone you are until you hear nothing but that empty air outside. I took a half-empty water bottle from the cup holder and leaned forward to grab a napkin from the glove box. I didn't bother getting out. I just adjusted my seat back and turned the mirror toward me so I could clean my face a bit. My skin felt sticky from hours of driving with the windows cracked. But this is where it gets weird. In the rearview mirror, behind my car, something was there. Like crouched down. It was shaped like a person, but low to the ground, on all fours. My brain tried to make it into something normal. Like maybe my duffel bag had fallen out, or maybe there was a shadow that looked off because of the angle of the light. The orange glow from that street lamp didn't reach far, and half the car was still in darkness. But as I squinted at the mirror, I realized it wasn't the car reflecting weirdly. It was moving. It was small, maybe the size of a kid. It was so creepy. Back was arched high. It didn't look right. Not at all. I blinked hard and looked over my shoulder. Nothing. Just blackness and gravel. I leaned closer to the window, trying to catch some detail, but the glass just showed my own face and the faint reflection of the dashboard lights. I thought my tired eyes were playing tricks on me. Then I looked back at the mirror. It was still there. Same position. I could see the shape more clearly. Knees or elbows pressing into the gravel, head low like it was trying to stay hidden behind the trunk. My hand reached toward the door lock automatically, and that soft click sounded louder than it should have. I glanced over my shoulder again. Nothing. I looked back in the mirror. Still there. At that point, my heart was pounding hard enough that I could hear it over the stillness. I grabbed my phone to use the rear camera, But when I flipped it on, the screen stayed black for a few seconds, like it was trying to focus. I lifted it toward the mirror, and when the light from the screen hit the glass, the reflection was gone. I turned around again, squinting at the back window. No movement. And then from outside, I heard this sound. It wasn't a scream or a shout, like a sob, just this soft, shaky weeping that didn't sound close but didn't sound far either. The sound kept going, uneven, sometimes catching like someone trying not to cry too loudly. I told myself it was a coyote, or maybe some animal that made weird noises. My first instinct was to start the car and leave, but the keys had fallen somewhere near the cup holder when I dropped my phone. I fumbled for them in the dark, my hands shaking. I knocked them down between the seat and the console, and the crying stopped, completely stopped. I finally found the keys and turned the ignition. The headlights came on, flooding the area behind the car with light. Nothing there. I put it in drive and eased forward, still staring at the mirror. Hit a small gas station about 40 minutes later. I didn't even get gas. I just went inside because I needed people around me. Stood at the sink, splashed more water on my face, and forced myself to look in the mirror again. Nothing strange this time, just me. But when I came out, I noticed the attendant staring toward the windows. "You come in that white car out front?" he asked. I said, "Yeah." He tilted his head, still looking out. "You, see anyone else with you?" Looked like someone was walking around behind it. "What do you mean?" He shrugged, like he didn't want to sound crazy. "Just thought I saw something. Maybe I was half asleep." Then he laughed a little and went back to watching TV. I stayed in that gas station for almost an hour, pretending to scroll my phone, trying to convince myself he just saw my reflection or a trick of the lights. But I didn't go back out until I saw another car pull in. I waited until they started fueling up before I stepped outside. I just drove until the sun came up, stopping only when I saw the first cluster of buildings that didn't feel like the middle of nowhere. I never told anyone in person about that drive because I don't even know how to explain it. I wasn't drunk. I wasn't half asleep. I saw what I saw. It was around 10:30 at night, I think. I had just gotten back from a late shift and didn't feel like going upstairs right away. Sometimes I'd just sit in my car for a while, scroll through my phone, decompress a bit before going inside. My car was parked behind my apartment building. It wasn't a bad neighborhood, but it wasn't great. The kind of place where you keep your car doors locked, even if you're only inside for a minute. I had a half-empty soda in the cup holder. I wasn't really paying attention to anything, just zoning out. Out of nowhere, I saw someone in my rearview mirror. A man was walking up from behind, from the direction of the dumpster area. I didn't see his face, just the outline of him under that orange light. Hoodie, hands in pockets, kind of hunched like he was trying not to be seen. He wasn't walking straight toward me at first. He came up slow, then angled closer to my car, like he was curious about something. When he got close enough to see me through the back window, he froze. We made eye contact for half a second. I could tell by his body language he didn't expect anyone to be sitting inside. Then he turned away quick, started walking off like nothing happened. It freaked me out a little, but I didn't overthink it. There are always people cutting through the lot, delivery guys, maintenance, random neighbors. I told myself he just didn't see me and got startled. I waited a bit before getting out, like 5 minutes. I kept checking the mirrors, just to be sure he wasn't hanging around. Eventually I grabbed my bag, locked up, and headed toward the stairwell. Upstairs, I heated up some food and turned on the TV. I live alone, one-bedroom apartment, kind of old. The kitchen window looks right down at the parking lot. About 20 minutes later, I went to rinse my dish and happened to glance outside. There he was, the same man. He was standing near my car again, this time walking around it like he was inspecting it. The way he moved, he'd take a few steps, stop, crouch a little, then move again. He even leaned down once, near the driver's side, and looked underneath like he dropped something. I remember my stomach just tightening up. Maybe he was trying to break in. I reached over and turned off my kitchen light so he wouldn't notice me looking. My car wasn't anything special, but still, it was mine. He circled the car once more, then looked up toward my building. His face was in shadow, but I could tell he was scanning the windows. My window. He stood there for a moment, staring up. I backed away from the sink without even realizing it. I didn't want him to see me. After a minute or two, he started walking toward the stairwell, toward my door. I wasn't sure what to do. My first thought was it was some delivery mix-up or someone looking for another unit. But I hadn't ordered anything. I heard the stairwell door open below. It's that heavy metal kind that always slams, then slow footsteps on the stairs, then the knock. I walked up to the door but didn't open it. I stood there listening. "Who is it?" I said. "Nothing." I waited a few seconds, tried again. "Who is it?" Still nothing. The doorknob rattled. He tried it, slowly, then harder, like he thought maybe the lock would give. I stepped back. "Hey, you need to leave." Then he tried the handle again, this time with both hands. I could hear it straining. I yelled through the door, "I'm calling the police." And just like that, he stopped. It was completely quiet, and I heard footsteps, faster as he went down the stairs. The stairwell door banged shut again. After a few minutes, I peeked through the peephole. Nothing. Then I went to the window again, careful not to turn on any lights. The lot was empty. My car was there untouched, but no one around. I tried to convince myself it was over, that maybe he realized he had the wrong door. But I knew better. The way he looked at the car, then came straight up. That wasn't random. I called my friend. She told me to call the cops, but I hesitated. I didn't want to make a scene. I sat on my couch for a while. After about half an hour, I finally decided to check again. I went to the kitchen window, barely pulling the curtain. He was back. He was standing next to my car again like before, but this time he was closer to the driver's side door. That's when I finally grabbed my phone and called 911, and I stayed by the window, watching. A few minutes later, I saw headlights turning into the lot, a patrol car. Relief hit me for a second, but when the lights swept across the pavement, the man was gone. He came up to my door to talk. He asked if I'd seen which direction the guy went. I said no. He was there 1 minute, gone the next. The officer clearly didn't have much to go on. A few nights later, I kept the blinds drawn, parked closer to the building, and told myself it was over. But around 1 a.m., I woke up to a sound. It took me a second to realize it was coming from my front door. The knob turned, gently, testing it, just like before. I grabbed my phone, called 911, and stayed completely still. The dispatcher told me to stay on the line until officers arrived. The rattling stopped after a few seconds, followed by slow footsteps fading down the stairwell. When the police got there, they checked the lot. No one around. But this time, they pulled footage from the building's new security camera above the back entrance. It was him, same hoodie, same way of walking, hunched. He came from the dumpster area again, straight to my door. The video showed him looking up at my window for a few seconds, like he was making sure I was home, then turning toward the door. But right before the patrol car's headlights appeared, he walked out of frame. They checked every camera after that. He never showed leaving the property. Just disappeared.